All right, guys, so day 3 of Green Bay Packers training camp is now officially in the books. So I have a bunch of takeaways and keynotes from today's practice to go over with you guys. I also did just release my highlight video from today's practice. If you want to go watch that after this one, simply click the link right above. And also go down, click subscribe if you are a new viewer. I post highlights from the practice as well as a recap, such as this video, after every day of Packers practice. So if you want to stay in the loop, simply go down, click subscribe, turn on notifications. You won't regret it. This was another non-padded day of practice for the Green Bay Packers. There's no practice tomorrow. It's an off day, but then they're back at it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I believe either Friday or Saturday, the pads come on. So I'm hoping Jordan Love is signed by then or extended by then. But if not, the pads still come on. So we'll have a little bit more action. But today there was a lot that happened in practice, especially with the defense yet again. The defense has been really dominating training camp so far. Before we dive into the key takeaways from today's practice, I want to give a big shout out to today's video sponsor, and that is, of course, Sleeper. New users signing up with my custom code BAS, B-A-S, on Sleeper can get a first-time deposit match up to $100. Meaning if you were to deposit $50 with code BASS, you'd then have $100 in your account to play with. I will also be paying personally for your first $10 deposited. Simply send me a screenshot on Twitter at Basaraski showing that you deposited with code BASS, and I will personally Venmo you $10. Then when on Sleeper, you can make your picks where you choose higher or lower on a specific stat across a multitude of different sports. The NFL is right around the corner, and Sleeper is the exact place where you can make all of your picks. You can choose between 2 to 8 players and then win up to 100x payouts. Remember to always gamble responsibly. So guys, definitely go take advantage of this Sleeper offer with code BASS, B-A-S, will net you a first-time deposit match up to $100. Supporting the sponsor is also supporting the channel, guys, so thank you so much. All right, so now let's dive right into the key takeaways and notes from day 3 of Packers training camp. Of course, starting with the press conference from Matt LaFleur. He said that the offense has to start matching the intensity of the defense. He said it was evident the defense got after it in the pouring rain yesterday, especially on the defensive line. Spoiler alert, they didn't match the intensity today either. Matt LaFleur also stated he's not overly concerned about the offensive line until the pads come on. And I was saying this in yesterday's video, it's kind of hard to judge a win on offense versus defensive line without pads. It's kind of hard to block without pads. So yeah, the defensive line has been winning a lot and getting would-be sacks. But let's tap the brakes until the pads come on to start scrutinizing the offensive line heavy or giving a ton of praise to the edge rushers getting a ton of sacks like Rashawn Gary. But Rashawn Gary, that guy's hard to be stopped, pads or no pads, and he's just been practicing very, very well. Matt LaFleur also mentioned the rotation at safety next to Xavier McKinney, saying, quote, every day is going to be a new guy there. Then he stated he could have multiple guys playing opposite of Xavier on game day. And that's been very apparent. During OTAs, we saw Anthony Johnson Jr. First day training camp was Javon Bullard. Second day, or yesterday, was Evan Williams. And then they went back to Javon Bullard today. Some roster news, Jaden Reed was activated off the NFI today and returned to practice in limited fashion, returning from that toe injury that he suffered in his youth camp. So nice to see that Jaden Reed was not a serious injury. Matt LaFleur said it wasn't serious, but you never know until the player actually returns, and now he is back and he looks great. In terms of other attendance news, Elton Jenkins was not practicing today, but don't worry, it wasn't an injury. It was simply a veteran rest day, so no worries on Elton Jenkins. Now to go over the starters through walkthroughs on both the offense and defense. The offense was as follows. Sean Clifford still at quarterback number 1 for now. Josh Jacobs at running back. Tay Wicks, Watson, and Reed at receivers, so no Dobbs in the first team offense in terms of the walkthroughs. I wouldn't look too much into that. The Packers rotate the receivers a ton. Luke Musgrave at tight end. The offensive line was as follows without Elton Jenkins. It was Rasheed Walker, Sean Ryan, Josh Myers, Jordan Morgan, and Zach Tom. So Zach Tom still only limited. He's not doing any team sessions. He's simply just doing warm-ups and walkthroughs, so still lining up at right tackle. Kadeem Telford also got some snaps with the ones today, right tackle. Of course, when Zach Tom had to check out, Kadeem Telford got some snaps with the ones. That's a difference from the past 2 days of Andre Dillard being right tackle and absolutely getting destroyed. Dillard was with the backups today, so it seems like he's been relegated to backups at this point, and who knows if he's even on the roster for much longer. I know it's just 3 days of camp, but it doesn't look too hot so far for that signing of Andre Dillard. The second offensive line was as follows: Dillard at left tackle, that is terrifying. Royce Newman at left guard, terrifying. Jacob Bunk at center, Lasitis Smith at right guard, and Luke Tenuta at right tackle. Caleb Jones is still out, but hopefully he can come back soon. The starting defense was as follows: the defensive line, Rashawn Gary, TJ Slayton, Kenny Clark, Preston Smith. The two linebackers in nickel they started out in was Quay Walker and Isaiah McDuffie. The cornerbacks were the same as it has been: Jair, Stokes, and Dixon, and the safeties McKinney and Bullard. But Anthony Johnson Jr., Evan Williams were rotating in with the ones, as was Edgerrin Cooper. But more importantly, Carrington Valentine was solely with the twos today. So it seems like Eric Stokes definitely has a leg up on Carrington Valentine in terms of that cornerback number 2 spot, and he didn't disappoint today. Eric Stokes had a great day of practice. Also, we saw Kalen King working primarily with the slot cornerbacks with Keyshawn Nixon. They separated both groups from the outside cornerbacks to the slot cornerbacks, and it was Nixon and King working there in the slot. I was saying this when talking about Kalen King in previous videos. I think he translates to a slot cornerback in the NFL, and it seems like the Packers think that as well. Now going over the offensive notes from today's practice, and man, it has been a nightmare for this offense. First team offense, the second team offense without Jordan Love. Another rough day for Sean Clifford. Another multi-interception practice for Sean Clifford. The only big play the offense had was a deep ball to Watson, which was really underthrown, and Stokes couldn't get his head around, so he ran into Watson, and it ended up being pass interference. That was pretty much the only big play from the offense today. And Michael Pratt wasn't much better either. He also threw a couple interceptions. The offense overall just really struggling to move the ball. Some positive out of the offense, I guess. Kadeem Telford had a nice rep against Rashawn Gary. Not many offensive linemen have been able to say that this training camp so far, so he stepped right in as right tackle number 1 and stopped Rashawn Gary on a snap, which is definitely very impressive. The guy has the same, physical frame as a Josh Nijman, so he could definitely fight for a backup swing tackle type of spot on this roster. They also did some end-around work with Bo Melton. He's definitely the next guy in line for that type of role behind Jaden Reed, and since Jaden Reed's still limited, not in team sessions, they're doing it with Bo Melton. And then at the end of practice on offense, a note I have here is Josh Myers was slow to get up towards the end of practice, so something to monitor going forward if that is a potential injury. Now going over the defense notes, man, the defense just continues to dominate, and that definitely continued today. Clark had a would-be sack early on in practice, but it was mainly the pass defense that was dominating today. A ton of interceptions, 5 to be exact. Anthony Johnson Jr., Evan Williams with an interception each, Eric Stokes with 2 interceptions today, and Benny Sapp with an interception. The cornerbacks, the defensive backs were flying around today. Great coverage all around. Jair and Valentine also almost had interception as well. So, if they secured those, that would have been like 7 interceptions today, which is just insane. I mean, this defensive backfield has had a ton of ball production so far during training camp, especially the safeties. They've been coming up with the football. They've been ball hawks, and this defense has been flying around. Slot cornerbacks, both Nixon and King, as I mentioned earlier, had some nice run defense today, so that's important for our slot guys, of course. Keyshawn Banks beat Andre Dillard on a run play, setting the edge well. I mean, who at this point hasn't beat Andre Dillard, but Keyshawn Banks has been impressive. He was impressive during OTAs and looks good so far to start camp. McDuffie, also a great start to training camp so far, especially against the run. He had a nice run stop at the line of scrimmage on A.J. Dillon today. And then finally, my last defensive note I have here is defensive lineman Devontae Wyatt had some nice pressures today as well. Then to wrap things up, going over special teams, only 2 notes I have here. First, kicking. James Turner was the kicker today. He went 4 for 6, kind of the average he's been doing every time he's kicked during practice. And now overall, he's 8 for 12 in camp. So not great, but not terrible. And the last note I have is they were giving Josh Jacobs some reps at kick return. Obviously, with the new kick return rules, it's going to be more important than ever. So if they want to put both Keyshawn Nixon and Josh Jacobs back there, I guess they can, but it's definitely going to be Keyshawn Nixon back there at kick return. But I guess it's good to, kind of cross-train, have multiple guys that can do it. So that does it for all the notes and key takeaways I have from Green Bay Packers training camp day 3. Like I said, they're off tomorrow, but back at it on Friday, where hopefully the pads come on, hopefully hopefully Jordan Love is back by that point. I think, not that they weren't going to extend Jordan Love ASAP, but I mean, if you're just seeing this offense just struggle and struggle and struggle, I mean, barely moving the football without Jordan Love, and given they're without a lot of other players too in terms of 11v11s. They don't have Zach Tom. They didn't have Jaden Reed. They don't have Tucker Kraft. They didn't have Elton Jenkins. So I wouldn't look too much into it. They're out so many starters, including Jordan Love, and this defense is a very talented group with a new scheme that just has so much energy right now under Jeff Hafley. So I would look at it as a very big positive for the defense and not so much a negative for the offense, in my opinion, because they're just without so many starters right now. But when the pads come on and those starters are back, if that continues, then maybe start to worry about the offense. But I appreciate you guys coming by to the video. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like down below. It supports the channel a ton. But I'll catch you all in the next one. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Pack Go.